afternoon, grade 8. Going through the memo of the test with you. And there are lots of things that I need to say, and you need to listen with care. Some of you, and I don't mean all of you, know that if I'm saying things like some of you or many of you, it doesn't mean everybody. And if you did everything right, then so be it, and I appreciate that, and I really value the fact that you listen to me and that you read instructions. But if you did everything incorrectly, oh my word, be grateful I've had days to calm down. So, my first point, you're in high school now. You are given instructions. You must follow the instructions that are given. I told you you had to write on exam pad paper. Some of you typed onto the test, and then that became my problem. If I tell you to do something like write on exam pad paper, what I really mean is write on exam pad paper. So I have spent 4 whole days sorting out all the problems that you guys gave me. In theory, it should have taken me 2 days to print and mark and give feedback on all those tests. In fact, it ended up being 4.5 days. And it was because you didn't do what I asked you to do. So, some of you need to go and practice scanning documents with your phone or whatever you scanned with. And you need to practice putting all the pages together as one document. Not all the pages on one page. Because then your test is so tiny, I don't know how you think I am supposed to read what you write. So go and practice, because next term, I'm telling you now, there are going to be marks allocated for you following the instructions correctly. So go and practice, get cam scanner, and practice putting all the pages as one document, not all the pages as one page. Some of you, when you scan, I don't know what you do. I think every curtain in the whole house is closed and all the lights are off, and then you scan, and then I can't read it. Besides which, my printer sort of used half a cartridge of ink, printing all the things with the really dark backgrounds. When you scan from directly above and make the document fill the whole page. Don't want this little weenie thing that you guys are giving me that I'm supposed to be able to read. I'm getting old, I can't read your small little half a page equals 1 page, and then I must try and read it. Okay, so that's the end of my rant on that. You must, no, let's go back to that rant. That test was 50 marks. No, 45 marks, 50 minutes. I told you that. I told you that it had to start at 8 o'clock. So when it started at 8 o'clock, some of you were still messing around until heaven knows what time. And then you're going, oh, am I meant to have started? Guys, I told you it must start at 8. Then it starts at 8. Okay. You're not reading the questions with care and are therefore losing marks unnecessarily. And a lot of you wasted time on many of the answers. So, it surprises me when I look at the papers of the students who wrote at school. I couldn't find a single, not one, question paper that had key words underlined. And I told you when I went through the test with you beforehand, when I gave you those instructions, I said you must underline the key instruction words, and you didn't. And now you're all whining about your bad marks. you have to underline the key instruction words, because if you don't take cognizance and you don't write correctly. And then many of you need to learn the work, as your knowledge of the detail is very sketchy. I was confused by how many students felt that in the male reproductive organs there were fallopian tubes. Really? In the male? One of you even had an ovary in the male. I'm confused. Even I know that that's wrong. Guys, learn the work. Okay. The first question said, write the letters A and E only, one underneath each other next to the margin. Use the key below to identify the plants to which the leaves labeled A and E in the diagram below belong. Write the correct plant name next to the appropriate letter. So you tell me how many of you did A, B, C, D, and E. And then you complain that the test is too long. It's not too long. You wrote too much rubbish. A and E, not the whole thing. That's your stupidity. Okay. Then these are genus names. We've discussed the whole genus name thing. And so you could see on the question paper that they were in italics. If they're in italics, it tells you that they're genus names. You have to underline them. So if you didn't underline them, you didn't get 2 marks. If you wrote the whole lot, next time I'm not going to give you any marks. So you lost a mark if you didn't underline them. I type them in italics because that's the rule. If you write, you underline. If it's typed, it's in italics. Same thing. The next question said, there's no image of the leaf of the ilex plant in the set of drawings provided. Use the information in the key to describe the leaf of the ilex, not the ilex plant, you nanas, the leaf of the ilex. So it has pointed spines along its edge. The leaf is not divided into 2 distinct parts, into more than 2 distinct parts, and the leaf has a jagged outline. Okay, or it has pointed spines along it. No, that's the pointed lines. It's the jagged outline that's further up in the key. Okay. Is the name ilex a common name, a genus name, or a species name? Justify your answer. It's a genus name because it's written in italics and it starts with a capital letter, as genus names always are and have and do. Okay, right. Now guys, no excuse for not getting 8 out of 8 for this. All right. Then you had to draw a table. My greatness. It appears some of you do not understand the difference between a table and a graph. And some of you even left out that question because you didn't read it. Remember I said to you when I went through information on the test, I said to you, read everything, that whole preamble. So a whole lot of you missed question 2.1. 2.1 was out of 6 marks. It said record the information in the paragraph below in the form of a suitable scientific table. Rule 1, a heading. The heading must be present and the heading must be complete. So if you left it out, you lost 2 marks. All right. Then you've got to put the units in the column headings and not in the body of the table. And many of you left this out and you lost 1 mark. A neat border going all the way around in pencil. The information that you include here must be complete. So you need to have a heading that says plant type. And you need to have a heading that says percentage of the dry weight of each of 4 minerals: potassium, magnesium, nitrogen, phosphorus. And so this is the unit of measurement, percentage of the dry weight. Okay. And so you should not repeat anything within a table. So you shouldn't be going Sunflower 3.5 potassium, bean 1.2 potassium, barley 4.0 potassium, because that's just putting in, the whole point of a table is to reduce how much writing there is and make it easy to see the data. And you guys, by writing potassium down here and magnesium next to each one, whatever, you're just filling it up with unnecessary stuff. Okay, the next question. The researcher wanted to show the results of the nitrogen content only of the different types of plants in the form of a graph. Explain why the data could not be recorded in the form of a line graph. Because the plant type would be on the x-axis, and it is not continuous, and it's not quantitative. In other words, it's not figures, which is what is required in a line graph. And you could have done it in different ways. You could have said the names of plants are not values, are not figure values. So I'm warning you now. This is now, if I remember correctly, the third or the fourth time that I've tested you on graphs, and you are not good at all. I'm going to continue asking you this until you get it right. So go and learn the correct information about graphs. You can't go, it can't be on a line graph because a line graph shows a trend. That was information about a line graph. It wasn't what determines whether you use a line graph. All graphs show a trend. That's what a graph is about. It shows a trend. You can't say line graphs show trends and this isn't trends. Of course it's trends. Okay, the next question was, she asked two colleagues to suggest the best form of graph to use. Carter felt that a histogram would be best, but Josiah argued that the data should be illustrated in the form of a bar graph. Which of the two colleagues was correct? Justify your answer fully. Note, in a question like this one, you must compare the two types of graphs, saying why one is suitable and why the other is not suitable. Okay, so the correct one would be a bar graph, so Josiah was correct. And the reason why is the categories on the x-axis are discontinuous. Please learn how to spell the word discontinuous. As required for a, oh, how bad was this? As required for a histogram. No, I've worded this badly. Okay, so this should be as required for a bar graph, but in discrete categories as required for a histogram. Doesn't mean I marked it incorrectly. I know what I'm marking, but I just typed it incorrectly there. Okay, make sure you get it right. 3.1. White dead nettle is a type of plant that is pollinated by insects. Observe the drawings below of two different flowers of white dead nettle at different stages of development, and then answer the questions that follow. So a plant with ripe anthers and a flower with ripe stigmas. The question said, give the letter from the diagram and name the part. Originally on the memo, I had, if you didn't put the name and the letter, you were getting no marks. And then I felt sorry for you. I don't know why. And I went back and I remarked that. Okay, so read the question, name and letter. So, in which the male gametes are produced, it was A, the anther. 1.2, in which fertilization occurs, F, the ovule. 1.3, that could form a fruit, C, the ovary. 1.4, that would form a seed, F, the ovule. And 1.5, that protects the flower when it is in the bud. B, the sepal. I accepted calyx, but because the label line goes to one structure, you should not put a group name. Guys, I said this before about your socrative. You can't, if the label line goes to one structure, you cannot put something in the plural. And so from now on, I'm actually going to mark you down on that. Okay. The next question said, give 2 pieces of evidence from these drawings to back up the statement that the structure of the flower is suited for insect pollination. Now, the thing that most of you answered here was, what evidence is there that it is not wind pollinated? I wasn't asking that. I was asking evidence to show that it is insect pollinated. Okay, large petals to attract insects. You can't say large colorful petals because I don't know, but my test was in black and white. A nectar gland to secrete nectar to attract insects. Guys, you don't seem to understand the difference between nectar and scent. Nectar is a sugary solution. Scent is something that is smelt. They're not the same thing. Okay, so you had to put visible information, and you can't see scent or you can't see colors of the petals. So this was the evidence that it is the structure of the flower is suited for insect pollination. Okay, 3.3.1. Use information from the drawings to explain how this plant is able to prevent self-pollination. Because it showed you very clearly, when the anthers are mature, the stigma of that flower is not yet mature. And when the stigma is mature, the stamens or the anthers on that flower are dead. Because the male and female parts are not ripe or not mature at the same time, it can't self-pollinate. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Why is it better for a plant to be cross-pollinated rather than to be self-pollinated? Because cross-pollination results in greater genetic variation than self-pollination. And that increases the chance of survival of the species, not of the individual, of the species. Okay. Question 4.1. I think I've got to go on to the next page here. No, I don't. This is another example of you guys not reading the question correctly. So it says, write the numbers 4.1.1 to 4.1.5, one underneath the other, next to the margin. And next to each one, give the letter from the diagram and the name of that part. 1, that produces sperm. So B, the testes. 2, where sperm is stored until ejaculation. E, the epididymis. 3, that produces testosterone. B, the testes. 4 is removed during circumcision. D, the foreskin. 5 enables sperm production to occur at a temperature slightly below body temperature. C, the scrotum. Not the ball sack, guys. Then you might as well be calling the penis a winky. No, good scientific terminology here. My word. Okay, there's no excuse for not getting 5 out of 5 for this, and there's no excuse for not getting a 5 out of 5 for this one. If you didn't get 5 out of 5 for those two, then you didn't learn your work properly. Okay. 4.2. The book from which this diagram was taken has tube A labeled as the sperm tube. What is the correct scientific name for this part? So guys, I'm not going to say to you it's called a sperm tube if the correct scientific name is sperm tube. Think through this. So it's a vas deferens. What is the function of this part? To transport sperm from the epididymis to the urethra or to the penis. Then question 4.3. A permanent method of contraception called a vasectomy involves a surgical procedure for male sterilization. During this procedure, the sperm tubes labeled A are cut at the region labeled A, and then they're tied or sealed so as to prevent sperm from entering the urethra and thereby prevent sperm from entering the female during sexual intercourse. 4.3.1. A male who has had this procedure is still able to ejaculate a liquid, but there's no sperm in the liquid. Explain how it is possible for the male to ejaculate a liquid, but for the liquid to have no sperm in it. And the answer is because if the vas deferens is cut at the point indicated, sperm can't reach the urethra, as there's no passage for it. But the glands that secrete the liquid of semen are after the position of the cut, and therefore they will still ejaculate the liquid of the semen. Right. Then there were details given of 3 couples who wanted to select an appropriate method of contraception to use. Details of the couples are given below. And so there was information about those 3 couples. Couple R, young couple, had no children, still studying, do a lot of partying. Couple S, late 20s, no children, newly married, still becoming established. And a couple Q, over 45, already have 3 children. The male is the CEO of a company and the female is a surgeon. For which of these couples is a vasectomy a suitable choice of contraception? And I can't overemphasize enough that word permanent. Use the information provided in the table and in the introduction to give 2 reasons to justify why this contraceptive method would be a suitable choice for the couple you have chosen. So an example would be, and really it was only for Q that it would be a good choice. So Q, because it's a permanent method and the couple already have 3 children, so they need a reliable method. Both of them have high-powered jobs, and it's unlikely that they would want a method that is more fussy, such as the daily pill, or any other reasonable answer. 4.3.2.2. Explain one reason why this method of contraception is not a good choice for each, and each was bolded, of the other 2 couples. So you need to actually give 2 separate things here. Couple R is very young and does a lot of partying, and so it's likely that they would also want a method that protects against STIs, and a vasectomy wouldn't do that. Okay. Couple S is likely to want to start a family at some time because they're newly married. And this method of contraception is permanent, so it's not a good method for them. I would have accepted for both of these that it's a permanent method and both of them would probably want to have children at some stage. Guys, what is a kid? A kid is a baby goat. It appears that this couple already gave birth to 3 baby goats, and that this couple and that couple are likely to want to give birth to some baby goats at some stage. You do not use the word kid unless you're referring to a baby goat. Right. So a number of you misread both of the questions in 4.3.2. I don't know how you could misread it because it was pretty clear. And you answered as if the question read, what method of contraception should each of the couples use and why. And that's not what was asked. I was asking which couple should use a vasectomy and which wouldn't. Some of you suggested that as the wife was a surgeon, she could give the husband of couple Q a vasectomy. I don't think that people are allowed to operate on their own family. So do not use the word kid to describe children. And so now I'm warning you up front. Do that again, I'm giving you naught. Okay. All right. So I don't now want a flood of emails going, I think I said the same as you, but you didn't give me the marks that I deserve. I marked this very carefully. I went back. I was nice. I wasn't going to give you any marks for this one if you didn't put the name and the letter. And then I felt sorry for you. So I went back and gave you some marks. So guys, be grateful that I marked you so leniently. Best you learn very hard for the next test. I think that a lot of you are not learning on the day of the lesson. And I did tell you at the beginning of the year, you need to learn after every lesson. Just as your question paper is pristine and doesn't have any key terms underlined, I think your textbooks, if I open them, would be pristine. You're not making notes, you're not underlining key stuff, you're not doing anything like that. Okay, right. Have a good weekend.